Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about episodes 1 through 5 of Peacock's The Day of the Jackal. So, The Day of the Jackal is actually a British show. It's based on a novel of the same name by a guy named Frederick Forsyth. The show has contemporary updates from the novel, but basically it follows an assassin called the Jackal who, after a high-profile mission, finds himself being chased down by a very determined MI6 agent. And the showrunner here is a guy named Roman Bennett, who I was pretty unfamiliar with when I heard the name, but I looked him up, and he's also showrunner, executive producer, and writer for Top Boy, which is apparently, I haven't seen it, but from what I heard, it's kind of like the British version of The Wire, and it's a show I've heard very good things about, and I hope to watch it one day. You add in a couple of compelling leads in Eddie Redmayne and Lashana Lynch, and you definitely got my buy-in for a British espionage-type show. So, Redmayne plays the titular Jackal character, and Lashana Lynch is Bianca. She's the MI6 agent who's trying to find him. We'd be here all day if I listed all the roles that Redmayne has done, but he won an Oscar for his portrayal of Stephen Hawking in The Theory of Everything. That's probably what he's best known for, along with the Fantastic Beasts series. Lashana Lynch, probably most well known for her role of Maria Rambeau within like the Captain Marvel world, like within the MCU, but specifically within the Captain Marvel world. But she was also in Woman King. That was a movie with Viola Davis, and the James Bond No Time to Die. Strangely enough, this show was supposed to be released here in the United States on November 7th. And that's the day that I had in my notes as the release day. But for whatever reason, the Peacock release got pushed back to November 14th. And there's a strange release schedule too. So listen up and pay attention, because shows are terrible with advertising their release schedule, and this is a tricky one. Now, when I say terrible about it, they don't do it. So you kind of just got to come into that information somehow. So here's the release schedule. The first 5 episodes were released on Peacock in the United States on November 14th. The next 3 episodes, episodes 6, 7, and 8, will be released each of the next 3 weeks. So the 14th is the first 5. The next 3 weeks after that will be 6, 7, and 8. Then after that, episodes 9 and 10 will be released on the same day. So for those in the back of the class not paying attention, that's a release schedule of basically 5, 1, 1, 1, 2 for 10 episodes. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's the deal. Fortunately, for me anyway, not for you guys, but fortunately for me, since it was released in the UK on time, I was able to watch all 5 episodes of the first drop over the week preceding its release on November 14th. I could have put the video out on November 14th, and I had every intention of doing so, but life got in the way, and I wasn't able to get the video done. So here I am on November 18th, 4 days later, getting it done. But that's why I'm here with a video covering 5 hours of content, still very close to the actual release date. Now, I want to get into the show, and I want to start by actually returning to that release schedule. It's a 10-episode season, and after watching the first 5, I'm not so sure this show needs 10. Like, this show seems like a complete and total banger if it limited itself to, like, 6 episodes, like it's British espionage friends, Slow Horses. But having already watched half the season now, 10 feels like it's a bit much. Like, you need your show to be really dense, layered, and have a lot to unpack if the season needs 10 hours. And at the end of the day, like, while I am thoroughly enjoying this show, I cannot fathom how I could possibly need 10 hours. Like, it's not that deep. Like, it's an exhilarating and captivating spy thriller, but it's still, like, largely just high-end popcorn TV. Having said that, though, I'll gladly hop on camera and call myself a fucking moron if we get to the end of this season and they had enough to justify 10 episodes, but I am a little bit doubtful at this point. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. So let's talk about what happened in these first 5. Obviously, I'm not going to go over every minute detail, but what I want to do is start by giving my overall thoughts on these first 5 episodes, and then we'll briefly go over like the major moments and discuss what I did and didn't like. For starters, I love how captivating Redmayne's Jackal character is. The scenes where you can see how he operates are kind of like my favorite scenes of the show so far. The first episode opens with a couple such scenes as we see him in like prosthetics. He's dressed up as a janitor. He's seemingly going to kill somebody, but he merely wounds the person that we are meant to assume he is there to kill. Then the actual target, the father of that guy that he merely wounded, he kills this guy from 2 miles away. A shot from that far away has apparently not only never been made, it's never even been attempted. And to top it all off, his gun breaks down into pieces that fit into and comprise like this carry-on travel suitcase. Like parts of the barrel are going into the fucking, the part that you pull up and drag it with. Although I'm sure it has a name. But that's relevant because the length of the barrel on his gun is so ridiculous. So being able to break it down makes it more difficult for him to be caught. What made these scenes so cool is just seeing how he works, his routine, and learning all the trouble that he goes to in order to make sure he isn't caught. But then we also see like how good he is. These scenes immediately establish the Jackal as a top-tier assassin, and that's important because the better he is, the more impressive it is for the viewer as he gets closer to being caught. It gives Lashana Lynch's character, Bianca, more credibility simply being able to find any clues about this guy's identity because he's that damn good. I also like how both characters' personal lives are being integrated into the story. Jackal is an assassin who should be a loner, but he has a whole ass family, in-laws, the works, a whole normal ass life in Spain. His wife understands that his business is important, but she doesn't fully know what he does, and that's a crazy lie to try to keep up and maintain. Like, it's hard to keep any lie away from your wife, but like your side gig being killing motherfuckers, that's gotta be really tough. He's constantly leaving abruptly. It's just a strain on his marriage in general. And then you have Bianca, whose life as an MI6 agent is actually quite similar. Like, she can't fully divulge what she does to her family either. And she also up and abruptly leaves her family whenever she has a lead that needs to be chased down. Now, if I had to offer up a criticism here, it's that the idea of, like, this is the good guy and this is the bad guy, but look how similar they are. That's really overdone and cliche. Like, I don't know. I don't... It's not bothering me that much. Again, it's like if I had to force a criticism, it would be that. But that's kind of overdone. And I'm just like, all right. As soon as they did it, I'm like, all right, I get it. They're trying to tell us that they're pretty much the same. I got it. But that actually is a good segue into what actually is my main criticism of this show. It's going to be 10 episodes. Is it going to do anything that's not like run-of-the-mill for this genre? And this is almost kind of like a preemptive criticism. Like, I guess it's not. I mean, we have watched 5 episodes. But like I said, drawing parallels between the good guy and the bad guy, I've seen it a million times. He's a great shot. He's meticulous in everything he does. He's lying to everyone about what he does. This is all your standard kind of spy thriller basics, right? She's super smart, notices details that most people wouldn't, so she's able to pursue him. She's always right on his tail, but also always arriving a little bit too late. And again, it's like standard, like entry-level spy thriller type shit. And yeah, it's like it's being done at a very high level, and I am enjoying it. But I've said on this channel a million times that I feel like shows and films need to kind of justify their existence. Like, why do you think that this was worth making? How is it different from other shows or films in its genre or that are similar that preceded it? And I'm not seeing that really so far with this show. It's the same basic formula, the same basic beats, just different characters and a different story. Now, I was hoping for something a little bit more unique, something I'd be like, oh, that's different or that's new. But when you're doing everything at a high level like this show is, it's kind of easy to overlook that kind of stuff. And who knows? Like, they put the first five out at one time for a reason. Maybe I'll watch episode 6, which I intend on doing very shortly. I intend on having it up for when episode 6 drops on Peacock on Thursday. That's my plan. But maybe I'll watch episode 6 and I'll feel differently. But I don't know. At the same time, when you're not doing anything new or you're not breaking any new ground, and you got 10 hours worth of episodes to roll out, it's just a wee bit concerning that this thing might start to feel like it's dragging a little bit. For example, there's a subplot here about a mole that could be within MI6 that is like tipping off the bad guys. And I'm telling you guys, if it's the black guy, there's the black guy. I say the black guy. This is the one, but he was on Peacemaker as well, another HBO show. Well, this isn't on HBO, but yeah, he was on Peacemaker, and I'm telling you guys, he works for MI6. I think he's like Lashana Lynch's Bianca is like her boss, right? Or one of her bosses. There's another, like you can tell, like he's kind of in charge, and there's like a senior person that's above him. But I'm telling you, if the mole is the black guy for Peacemaker, I'm gonna be fucking pissed. Like, I mean, pissed to the point of like, that could be like completely damning for the show. Like I could be sitting on endorsing the show, and I find out he's the mole, and I'm like, thumbs down. Like that's how big of a deal it would be to me if he's the mole. And I can't say it's super obvious that it's him because it may not be him. I don't know. So they're either trolling by making it appear like it's him just for it to be someone else, which I'd be perfectly okay with that, or it is him, and they're doing one of the all-time shittiest jobs of hiding it because it is painfully fucking obvious that this guy is the fucking mole. So if it's not him, thank you. If it is him, fuck you. That's where I'm at. That's going to be a big thing for this show. That's going to determine how I feel about it. Another thing this show is doing that's starting to become noticeable and a little bit tiresome is this routine of Bianca's bosses, again, the black guy from Peacemaker and the person who's above him, wanting to shut down her operation, and then she like says a thing or gives one little bit of information, and they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll give you a little bit more time there. Like, doing that once is fine, but we're talking about cliches, right? And shit this show is not doing to set itself apart, and how it's kind of like falling into these routines, right? Doing that once is fine, but I swear they've done that shit in like 4 fucking straight episodes. And like in episode 5, when Bianca's boss, so I can't remember the name of the guy from Peacemaker, the black guy, but his boss, both their boss, is a woman named Isabel. And Isabel is, again, she's like ready to shut everything down. She's like, people have died. This woman's child has died. Now she's there. Like, we got to shut this down. We ain't getting nowhere. And Bianca's just like, Vincent Pine. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I trust him and I need him to help me on this job. And Isabel's like, fine. And I'm like, she didn't even give a reason to justify being allowed to continue. She asked for a favor, actually. And like, she somehow got an extension again. And I put in my notes, I'm like, that better be the last time that happens. And if there's another scene of like, okay, we have to call this off, and then Bianca talks her way out of it, again, that's gonna be really damning for this show for me. Like, it's gonna lose a lot of credibility for going into these like really cliche, tropey wells over and over and over again. I don't want to see that again, and I swear to God, the mole better not be the fucking black guy. So let's go over the major moments of these 5 episodes and wrap this video up, and then who knows, maybe I'll be back. Like I said, it could be as soon as tomorrow, but I mean, tomorrow, what does that mean for when you watch this? November 19th. But again, my plan is to get my video for episode 6 up on or prior to the Peacock release on what will be November 21st. So like I said earlier, season opens with a Jackal dressed up in full prosthetics to look like a janitor. The audience is meant to assume that the guy he shoots in this scene, Elias Fest, is his target. But he only wounds Elias, and he leaves him alive. This draws out the real target, Elias's father, Manfred Fest. It draws him out by making Manfred have to go to the hospital to visit his wounded son. And this is when the Jackal makes that 2-mile shot that I was talking about. And I really enjoyed, like I said earlier, like I like watching how he works and seeing how meticulous he is. Like, there's a moment where he's like waiting for Manfred to arrive, and he's like testing out the sight on his gun, and he's shooting it from like far as shit, right? You hear him shoot it, the gun hits, like he aimed it up above a door, and it like hit the wall, and like he adjusts the sight, does it again, and it's perfect. And it's like, I don't know, I enjoyed seeing his attention to detail. There's another scene too where he does the same thing in episode 5. And I don't know why I like the let me make sure my sight is accurate scenes, but for whatever reason, I like watching the Jackal adjust his sight. When it comes time to pay up for the Manfred Fest job, did I say that the Jackal is an assassin? I don't know that I did. When it comes time to pay up for that job, the person who hired him says "fuck you" in the chat in lieu of paying the rest of the money that was owed. He gave a deposit and he refused to pay up the rest of the amount. At the same time, Jackal's offered another job, and this is a big one. He asked for $1 million just to talk about this job. Like, they want to be the person. He's like, just to talk about it, I need $1 million up front. We kind of come to learn that he kind of sees this as his retirement job. He does this last one, and now he can settle down with his family and not have to kill high-profile targets anymore. Because that's how this always works out, right? Anyway, he makes up with this woman named Xena. And I had to look up her name on IMDb because I'm fairly certain they either haven't said it at all or have barely said it. But she tells him the target is a guy named Uladag Charles. Yeah, that's his name, Uladag Charles. And we're just going to call him UDC from now on. They started doing that on the show. They call him UDC. So we're going to call him UDC, but it's Uladag Charles. I don't know. I usually would look this sort of thing up. I don't know what the country of origin is for a name like Uladag, but yeah, I don't know. But UDC is about to put out a program called River. It's built around financial transparency and global economic justice. That's what they call it throughout the show. Like, what the fuck does that mean, really? But it's just a fancy way of saying that this program, River, is going to essentially make public how people acquire their wealth, like transactionally. Which obviously, if you're insanely wealthy, you probably don't want that to happen because, you know, a lot of those people get their money in some unsavory kind of ways. So the wealthy and the powerful, they don't want River to be released because they feel like it will expose all of the shady shit that they're doing. UDC is a billionaire himself, so he comes off kind of like some kind of hero, right? He's going to take down the corrupt billionaires. And one such of these corrupt billionaires who has hired the Jackal to kill UDC is a guy named Timothy Winthorpe, which I had to look up because, again, you guessed it, they ain't said his fucking name. But he's played by Charles Dance, and who is best known as Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones. So, yep, one unnamed character sends another unnamed character to go meet with a codenamed character to discuss killing a guy named Uladag Charles. So, yes, this show is doing a lot or absolutely nothing with names. Weird state of affairs here to either have Uladag Charles or a bunch of unnamed motherfuckers and codenamed people. But Jackal, actually, we supposedly know his name. He's Charles, I believe, and to his wife. But that's probably not his real name. But Jackal tracks down the person who gave him the digital fuck you via the bank that the person sent their original deposit from. And it turns out that it was Elias Fest who hired Jackal to kill his own father. The fuck you was for like, yo, man, I paid you to kill my father, not to shoot me to get him out. But that's what happened. But Jackal can't let word get on the streets that you out here not paying him and saying fuck you on the chat. So he kills Elias and blows up his car. In Jackal's personal life, like I said, his name's Charles. He has a wife, kid, beautiful home in Spain. Everything's just super peachy in his personal life until Jackal fakes getting dropped off at the airport to go get fake credentials and money. And then his wife happens to be like shopping for flowers and sees him driving away in a cab when she just dropped him off at the airport to go do whatever she thinks that he does for a living. This turns her suspicion dial all the way up, obviously, and her mom, and her brother, they start poking around the house while Jackal's gone, and they find his secret vault that has like fake wigs, money, counterfeit identities, and he has a camera in there though, and he sees this. He gets an alert and everything, like there's motion, and he's like, can you imagine having a secret vault that nobody knows about with a motion sensor camera? You get a notification that says you just saw that motion just happened in there. He probably shit himself, but he invites his wife to Paris to come meet with him. And again, she doesn't know that he knows that she was in there. So she's thinking that she's got one up on him, but really he's got one up on her. And he basically admits that he's been lying and that his job is dangerous. He calls it industrial espionage and says that he is I love this term, that he's a troubleshooter. I thought that was like a very delicious pun for what his actual job is. But he admits to wearing disguises and buying people off, but not to killing people. He lies about that part. And it buys him some time. But ultimately, she doesn't believe it. And by the end of episode 5, she tells her brother that she's certain that he is lying to her. On Jackal's end, he begins his mission to kill UDC. There's a guy named Norman who is a gun maker, and he made the gun that fit into the carry-on suitcase that he used to kill Manfred Fest. And Jackal wants Norman to make him another one that fits into like a leg cast / boot to kill UDC. But Norman gets wounded, and we'll talk about how that happens in a little bit. So Jackal offers to help him make the gun. They meet up at Norman's hideout, and this is just as Bianca gets enough clues to kind of narrow down Norman's location. And she arrives at Norman's hideout just ahead of Jackal, but Jackal's returning from testing out this new weapon that him and Norman have made together. And Bianca realizes he was there just as Jackal takes out Norman from a distance. So she sees I think it was like a bag or something or some clothes laying around, and she deduces like, wait, he was just here. And then that's when Norman takes a headshot from not 2 miles, but from pretty far away. Now, mind you, he's using a gun that Norman said he'd only be able to get off 7 or 8 shots tops. It's meant to get past metal detectors, not to be, a lifelong weapon that you use. And this whole ordeal where he shoots Norman and he fires a couple other shots, the test shots that he did, he probably used like a good 6 of them. I didn't count, but he ain't got that many shots left. Could be a problem when it comes time to try to kill UDC. Jackal gets chased down by Bianca and escapes in a ridiculous moment where he jumps in the water. She fires 1.2 million gunshots into that water. And not only does he live, he ain't even get shot. He ain't even get hit. Like, that's stretching plausibility a little bit too far for my taste. But again, that's why I say this is really just a high-end popcorn show. This isn't going to be your fucking, like, top 5 shows of the year type deal. Because there's just too many things like that just, like, great shows don't do. But episode 5 ends with Jackal being captured by someone else. I don't know who this person is, so that's really going to throw him off of his mission. And then, as far as Bianca goes, we haven't talked about her too much yet. She's a gun specialist. She knows everything there is to know about guns, and that's how she was able to even get on this operation to try to catch Jackal in the first place. She realized that the gun that was used to kill Manfred Fest would have to truly be, like, next level shit, and that it couldn't possibly fit in the carry-on bag that Jackal is seen in CCTV footage leaving the scene with. She also knows, since she's so much into guns, she knows who Norman is, and she knows that only Norman could make such a gun. And in her first attempt to capture him, that's when he gets shot. She shoots him, and that's how Jackal ends up needing to help him make his other gun, but he escapes. Norman does. But Norman leaves a bag, and it's one that also, it's a similar, like, travel bag with, like, the gun parts going into it. So that's how Bianca extends her time in one of these scenes. We're like, we gotta shut this shit down. She, like, throws the fucking bag on the counter, like, and just starts taking it apart and forming the gun. So again, they keep doing that. Like, these, like, we gotta stop this. And then Bianca does something that's meant to kind of look cool and extends her time. Again, that's gotta stop. So why does she need to extend her time exactly? Well, she's getting people killed left and right, and seemingly not caring too much about it at all. And get it. Like, I get it. She's like the good guy, but is getting people killed and doesn't care, just like the bad guy. Again, similarities, right? But her plan is to get to Norman, or her plan in order to get to Norman is to first get to his brother, Larry. And in order to get to Larry, she works with his wife, Allison, who is an asset that works for her named Sparrow. In order to pressure Allison to get Norman's phone number from Larry, she has Allison's daughter, Emma, arrested. Yeah, we're getting a little convoluted here. But Emma has a pre-existing heart condition that no one knew about, and she ends up dying in jail. Nobody did anything to her. She just died. Bianca callously tells Allison that she can get Emma out of jail and back home to her, knowing that she's already dead, if she can get Bianca Norman's phone number. And it works. Allison gets her the number. Bianca arrives at Norman's. This is the scene where Norman gets shot by her. And then Larry discovers what Allison has done, and he kills her. Since Bianca is responsible for Emma and Allison's lives, Larry gets her address from Norman, who gets it from the mole that I alluded to earlier, the black guy from Peacemaker, and he holds Bianca's daughter at knife point when she returns. So like Bianca returns home, and Larry has a knife to her daughter's neck. And he goes to kill her. He's like, I want you to see this, and I want you to witness this live. But Bianca shoots him in the leg, and he's eventually taken into custody. And it's at the hospital that she essentially tortures Norman's location out of Larry, and that's how she ends up at Norman's hideout ahead of the Jackal's return there, where Jackal ends up killing Norman. So at the end of episode 5, there's a likely mole within MI6 that gave Norman a heads up that they were coming the first time, and then also likely gave Norman Bianca's address as well. Bianca has now just missed out on catching the Jackal, so we might end up with another scene where she's told the op is off, but that really needs to not happen. Jackal's been captured by someone else, and his wife is onto him. He's also got that Xena chick on his ass. I already forgot his name on the show because they took Timothy something, but Tywin, Charles Dance's character, told her to stay alongside him, but she's likely going to have to get him out of this jam with whoever this is that's captured him. All in all, man, I feel like the story, pretty compelling. The performances are great. It's really fun and exciting to watch. Goes by pretty quick, too. Like, these episodes, you're not looking at your watches. It's really well paced. But like I said, it's falling into some tropes, some cliches, and while the pacing is good right now, there'd have to be a lot more story to justify another 5 episodes. But, I mean, so far, so good. I'm along for the ride. I'll be back after I watch episode 6, and until then, peace.